Is your business struggling to stand out from the crowd online? At Webamax, we specialize in turning clicks into customers. From SEO and PPC to social media management and stunning web design, we've got you covered. Boost your online presence and drive real results. Ready to take your business to the next level? Visit Webamax.com. That's WEBIMAX.com for a free digital analysis. Rule the web with Webamax.com.
This episode is brought to you by Twizzlers. Long day, late night, feeling a little bored? Twizzlers is the ultimate sidekick for any moment of the day, no matter what kind of day you're having. The perfect level of sweet and a fun excuse to sit back and relax. Unwind with Twizzlers. To buy now, visit Hersheyland.com/Twizzlers.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive. Most of you aren't just listening right now, you're driving, cleaning, and even exercising. But what if you could be saving money by switching to Progressive? Drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Multitask right now. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Things change, but Deer Park Natural Spring Water is a constant you can count on, bringing you the essence of home for 150 years and counting. Sourced from carefully selected springs, Deer Park Natural Spring Water has naturally occurring electrolytes for a crisp, refreshing taste. Find Deer Park Natural Spring Water at your favorite local retailer today. After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
Back with another episode of Keeping Current. This one, Daniel, I am tired. I am already wore out. I have got to be out in the heat all day tomorrow. It's not going to be fun, but we are here to talk about Kansas City Current, NWSL. This is That Bell, Kansas City Soccer Journal. Daniel Sperry, Kansas City Star. How are you, sir?
About as fried as you are mentally, but hey, it's just the beginning of the week, so let's get started, baby. We got plenty to talk about.
we're already halfway soccered out, and it's just the first day of the week, and we're both kind of halfway watching Stanley Cup final. All right, man. Kansas City Current goes to Portland. We expect it to be a tough match, maybe even another wide open thing going both directions. 4-1 win. A 17th goal scorer for Kansas City. All these little things are nice, but how did they go to Portland and keep them pretty much shut down until what, 80 something minute?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a 4-1 win wasn't on your bingo card for the KC Current in Portland.
No, I think if I was going to make a bet, which is a dangerous thing to talk about nowadays, but I think if I was going to make a bet, it probably would have been, at least a 5-2, 4-2, 4-3. I mean, at least a little closer.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me here is that the Current won a ton of second balls. That seemed to be the theme. This was two teams that the Current were very set on playing some long balls. I felt like the Current were winning every and all long balls possible. I think there's a dog drinking water in the same room as I'm recording. I'm not in my usual recording spot, so I don't get sound proofing from dogs drinking water.
Well, I don't hear it, but it's just it's a wet theme. We'll keep going.
Throwing me off. Anyways, I think the current won a ton of second balls in that game, and I thought that they were just kind of really swarming in how they closed down the Thorns' ability to play out of the back. The Current lose the possession battle in this game very narrowly, but for a team that really sat back for like 20 minutes of that game, for them to lose the possession battle it by only 2%, I think shows just kind of how dominant they were at keeping Portland from connecting a lot of passes. They cut off a lot of service into Sophia Smith. I will say the Portland Thorns are playing Megan Klingenberg in the midfield. That will do it for you. I know it was an admirable attempt for her, and she probably was forced to play out of position because Sam Coffey was coming back from an injury. But the Thorns looked disjointed from midfield. The Current took advantage of that and created a lot of chances out of it. And I think that once the Current got the ball into the final third, they were very good. You mentioned we're watching hockey right now. It felt like at times Portland had stretches where they just couldn't get out of the final third. Like the Current just kept repossessing and recycling possession because they were winning second balls. Portland might make a tackle and the ball's loose, and the Current are picking that up every time, or a long ball towards the box. A clearance might have happened from Becky Sauerbrunn, but guess who's there to mop up the ball? Some Clara Hutton, Lola Bontas, somebody. And so I just think that they were really good in their press and then in their repress to just force Portland into turnovers. And you didn't see like the giveaway and the massive 2v1s like we've seen from other teams. The Current had to be a little bit more methodical at times for their goals, but I thought, the play was phenomenal for the most part. And I thought they really had Portland so significantly unbalanced at a lot of times that it created the right kind of scenarios for the Current. It was a very good coaching job from Vlaco, in my opinion, because I thought that the way the Thorns have been playing this year, they've been very stingy outside of when they play the Current. 9 of the 20 goals that they've conceded this season have come from 2 games against the Kansas City Current. And so that shows you how stingy that defense is, but that shows you how well Vlaco is coaching the team up against whoever they're playing at this moment.
Yeah, and I think it's a sign of the maturity of Kansas City. They're still going to have some issues going forward. I never want to say here a team just found their perfect groove, but I want to say it's a maturity of how the team is coming together, of having a rookie 18-year-old six, of having how she's combining, how the back line is combining, how the other players are all doing the right pressing at the right times for the most part. And like you said, Vlaco did a good coaching job. He was asked about the formation at some point in post game, and he described it as an unbalanced one because you knew that was how it was going to affect Portland better. I don't want to go into a ton of details here. We could take too much time, but it's a good all around performance by them to go on the road and beat a team that should have been able to maybe put another goal or two away. And I said the 80th minute earlier; it was like the 73rd minute. So
yeah, and they also, like I said, they limited the Thorns' chances. Right, the Thorns had by FOTMob and therein for Opta, their statistical ideas. The Current had 6 big chances. 6 of them, or 8 of those, they had 8 shots on target. 4 of those big chances were missed. So 2 very high quality XG chances. The Thorns had none the entire game. The goal that they got came from outside the box. Sophia Smith is one of the best in the league in converting shots outside the box. Like in the last 3 years, nobody has scored more goals from outside the 18 than Sophia Smith. So like she can shoot from anywhere and she's going to get hers, and she got a moment. I even thought they did a decent job of trying to close her down. She just got the shot off and put it in a place that AD couldn't get. And, we had a lot to say, I think, last week about AD's shot stopping, and she followed up with her best game of the year, didn't she?
she did. I don't think she listened to us, and I don't think we can really take credit for it. But yes, I think it was her
Not at all.
probably best performance of the year. No mistakes. The goal given up is just it was Sophia Smith just getting the shot, and I don't blame any keeper for having given that one up. I don't know many keepers actually would have stopped that one. Maybe Alyssa Nair at her best.
Maybe. I think that the push off that you would have needed with the pace that ball was shot at, and the how far tucked away into the corner it was from the angle that she was driving in at, I think it's a very difficult save to stop. So yeah, overall, I know we've talked about this, but I just think that you said maturity, and I really feel like overall that after the Sophia Smith goal, that was one of the best Current closing out the game moments I've seen from them. It was confident possession, go to the corner a little bit, but they were happy to play the ball out of the back. They were playing it back.
Yeah.
They had Portland so demoralized at that point that they were just kind of kicking the ball around for 5-10 minute stretches, and they'd give it back to Portland, and Portland couldn't even make their way through the middle third because they kept turning the ball over because the Current then were pressing them again. And it was just one of those things of like the way the Current managed that whole game, especially the last 15 minutes, I think to me was really impressive. Because they really, like, after Sophia Smith's goal, I don't know that Portland registered a shot. And I think that shows you, maybe they did. They definitely didn't register a shot on target, because I didn't think AD French had to make another save after that. So I think it's one of those where they're able to really shut them down. It's been a knock on this team for the last few games, right? You have the Racing Louisville game, you have the Chicago game. I mean, you could really even say that opening game of the season, they're up 5-2, going into the final 10 minutes, and makes it really helter-skelter, although some of those goals were kind of insane, Janine Becky. But in general, this team had their best night closing them out, and with a whole lot of confidence, and I was thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, me too. And it was their best one. It was smart play. They would, like you said, go to the corners. They would go to the side. They would pass it back out into safety. I mean, there was times when they passed it from up in a corner all the way back into the defense and back up and around. And that's just a team that's really confident and playing well and playing smart, because they weren't taking chances by doing that, but they also weren't going to goal, giving a turnover and getting a fast break going back the other way.
Correct.
So
And
very smart play.
this term's been used 1,000 times too this year. The Current's rest defense, what they're doing when they don't have the, they go crazy for 5-10 minutes, right? Those 4 goals came in now in real time. Those 4 goals came in about a 25-35 minute span. In match time, they came in about a 15-minute span for the Current. 4 goals in that stretch. And I think, you look at just how quickly they overwhelm and throttle teams for good 10-15 minutes, but then you have another 25 minutes to play. So how much do you overexert in those moments, and how well and how much in control do you rest in the moments where you aren't going kind of full throttle like they do? So it was a more, like we said, I'm going to stop saying it now because we've said it enough times, but it was a very complete, a very mature performance, and a big sign of growth for the team, which is crazy to think about, considering the fact that they're 14 games unbeaten, and we're talking about, there's a nice positive sign of growth of, like, the one minuscule knock that we had on them all year was that.
Yeah, and it just will be very interesting to see how that continues to change or grow. And again, I said this earlier, is I'm not going to say they're perfect, they're done, they've completely grown, because they're still going to make mistakes. They still have young players. They still have players who are learning to play together. You got players who've only played a few games together. It's all these weird things, but they're getting better, and that's just the scary thing for the rest of the league. All right, enough about that game for the moment, at least. Tiny little break here. Come back and talk about just what the hell is going on with the NWSL.
This is it. We've got an Amex Platinum Pro on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't seen anyone relax like this before in the Centurion Lounge. Is he connecting to complimentary Wi-Fi? Oh, my! Look at that! He is! And you will not believe where he's going next. The Amex dedicated card member entrance for the win! Unbelievable!
When you get travel perks with Amex Platinum, you're part of the action. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
This episode is brought to you by Twizzlers. Long day, late night, feeling a little bored? Twizzlers is the ultimate sidekick for any moment of the day, no matter what kind of day you're having. The perfect level of sweet and a fun excuse to sit back and relax. Unwind with Twizzlers. To buy now, visit Hersheyland.com/Twizzlers.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yep, while you're listening to me talk, you're probably also driving, cleaning, exercising, or maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you can be doing right now. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. It's easy, and you could save money by doing it right from your phone. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $750 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. So just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Things change, but Deer Park Natural Spring Water is a constant you can count on, bringing you the essence of home for 150 years and counting. Sourced from carefully selected springs, Deer Park Natural Spring Water has naturally occurring electrolytes for a crisp, refreshing taste. Find Deer Park Natural Spring Water at your favorite local retailer today. After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
And we're back. All right, Daniel, as I said, what the hell's going on with the NWSL today? This
I don't
is
know, man.
Monday, June 24th, and it's been just like email after email today and tweets of somebody being let go. It started with Sporting, not the NWSL, but then
Both
San
Bay Area-
Diego.
Both Bay Area soccer teams, both men and women, have lost somebody today.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Yeah. Obviously, the big news today in the NWSL, first off, was Casey Stoney being let go as the head coach of the San Diego Wave. She moves on. Did not sound mutual. Yeah.
It doesn't usually when that person fires somebody.
No, and well, it's usually not mutual for anybody. It's usually okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll accept your decision and accept what you want to do. So
Well,
you can give
yeah.
me my severance package.
It's-
But
it's often we will trash you in the press release, or you accept it's mutually agreed, and then we are nice to you and thank you.
yeah, the whole thing just I mean, I didn't go back and look at the tweet, at the quotes. I wouldn't be surprised if something was said about disappointing start, something higher expectations and ambitions, and a similar line that you might have been familiar with when a certain GM of the I'm not gonna keep dancing around it. I mean, when Camille Ashton fired Matt Potter last year, that was the setup that we got.
That was a cold-hearted announcement at that time.
Yeah, and the whole thing there, Camille Ashton's been with the Wave for 1 week, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks now at most.
It's not been long.
At most 2.
Couple
It is
weeks.
not. You would like to think that there was maybe other reasons. I mean, I don't say I like to think, but you would think that there might be other reasons and other things that have gone on behind the scenes that would eventually build up to why you would fire Casey Stoney after a half a season of tough ball, considering the fact that the team defensively is rock solid. They're just having some trouble scoring goals, and they are a team that is kind of like they won the Challenge Cup at the beginning of the year. They won the NWSL Shield last year and were a semifinalist in 2022 in their first year in the NWSL and a top 4 seed. So like, I mean, you would think, especially with a manager like Jill Ellis or someone in the front office like Jill Ellis, that a manager that has that pedigree would have been given more time and to help turn things around, and maybe had afforded herself a bad season.
Yeah.
But apparently not. And it's mind-blowing.
It is. I was very shocked when I saw that. Like, again, I know San Diego's not doing anywhere near what they've done the last couple of years. I've read from people who know much more about San Diego than I do, that they've been trying to transition from a a very direct team to a little more possession, that type of team. And it's been a struggle, but you got to change players sometimes to do that. I don't know. Again, I don't want to say I'm an expert on San Diego, but they don't necessarily have the players that have been there ready to do all of that. And then you
Yeah.
fire a coach that's been pretty well respected. Everybody you think is, one of the best coaches in the league for 2 years, and then you fire with a bad first half of the season.
Yeah. I just, Casey Stoney was very well liked, very well loved by a lot of players, and very well respected by her peers around the league. And to me, it's just shocking. And so, I think the first comment that came out of that was the fact that I'm sure there's a lot of GMs in this league that might be given a call to Casey Stoney right away. And I don't, obviously that would mean another coach was fired in the issue, but Portland is technically operating under an interim at the moment. And for his limitations, he has done a good job, but it is an interim. I just think that Arsenal women have a head coaching vacancy. I'm sure they're immediately calling Stoney's agent. I think there's just, it's, to me, is shocking that we're here and talking about it like this, because it to me, I don't see where this made sense anywhere. And I don't think the team was so far off from competing and from getting it right that changing the head coach was necessary.
Yeah, I mean, a couple different players. I mean, again, I don't want to claim
Here's the thing. They added some players this offseason. Carusa, McCaskill, they added Maria Sanchez. They haven't scored a bunch of goals yet. They haven't been utilizing Jaden Shaw in the right way, in my opinion. And I think Casey Stoney, for her play style, is it is what it is. It's not the prettiest thing, but it gets results usually. They just had a hard time putting it all in front of the net. They've been over reliant on Alex Morgan for quite a few years to do things, and Alex Morgan is getting at the end of her career. She hasn't produced at the level that she used to. So that's part of the thing too. So, that I don't know, obviously, what all has gone on behind the scenes there, but it just makes no sense.
It does not. All right, the other move, Bay.
The other water team.
Yeah, the other
Okay,
water-ish related.
Are they considered a water team being called Bay FC, considering what a bay is?
I don't know, man. I don't usually get too much into the whole water theme thing, but kind of dad joking it into it. Yes, I would say yes.
Okay, good.
Uh,
As a Bay Area guy, it's absolutely a water team, because the reason for the nickname is the frickin' San Francisco Bay, which is a body of water.
It is.
Right.
Have you ever swam in the San Francisco Bay?
No, I have not. I did not escape from Alcatraz.
I have been into it briefly. So let's just say that.
Okay.
And thankfully there's no photos.
I grew up a San Francisco Giants fan, and I never kayaked in McCovey Cove, but I have outside of AT&T Park, which is the baseball stadium there for you non-stickball fans listening to this podcast. But in right field, much like the Kansas City Current, you can maybe launch the ball out of the stadium and get it into the river. You absolutely can hit a home run into the San Francisco Bay at that baseball field. So,
yes.
Anyways,
right. The soccer related part of this podcast, Bay released, fired, mutually agreed to part ways. I don't even remember seeing what those things said now.
No, because they never posted a tweet that actually gave you a headline of what their decision was. They just tweeted out a tweet from Lucy Rushton, that a quote from Lucy Rushton and a picture that said, "Thank you for everything," for like 4 months.
And now Matt Potter is officially in charge there.
Yeah. Lucy Rushton out as the Bay FC GM, Matt Potter as the interim GM. That means Camille Ashton and Matt Potter simultaneously are two of the three GMs in the state of California. Can you believe it? 16 months ago, Thad, if I had told you that, would you have believed it?
No, hell no. Interestingly, though, I was told several months ago that Matt Potter was the actual GM before I heard somebody else was announced. It's however many months ago. I heard that he was the GM, director of
Interesting.
soccer operations, whatever the title was, and then they
Mhm.
announced somebody else.
Mhm.
So I was very confused by that because my source was pretty reliable, but it wasn't something I was just going to go out there and like start tweeting around because I didn't have a good enough reason to do that.
Yeah.
But so now he is that spot, and I don't know. I guess we will have to wait and see how that turns out, but I assume
Yeah.
he's probably not going to answer any questions there either.
I mean, he'll do more media uh
Cammy,
than Cammy.
I don't know. Will he? Because he won't have to.
I
Not
think
being a head coach.
he'll at least do. I'm sure he'd do one more press conference.
And he'll probably say more and answer just as much.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah. So the quote from, let's see, I'm trying to find it here. The quote from from Rushton. She said, "Being a part of building a new club in the sport that I love is something that I will forever be grateful for. I'm extremely proud of all the players, coaches, and staff of AFC for what they've already accomplished and what I know they will continue to build. The club was founded with the vision of building a premier global sports franchise on and off the field, and I have no doubt this group will make that a reality. I love this team, group of people, and our fans. It's been a privilege and honor to lead them into the inaugural season, and I will always hold Bay FC close to my heart. This has been one of the hardest decisions of my life, but I believe the right one for me right now. I'm excited for and look forward to my next chapter." Um, so that very much hints that Rushton has taken a job outside, and made this as a personal decision versus being
Pushed.
ousted or
Yeah.
pushed out the
You're right.
door.
You're right.
You would think so. And I would kind of get that vibe from this quote. Let's just say the other team that mutually parted ways with a person in their soccer operations department today did not have a quote from that person in their press release. So you would think that when it's a personal decision like this, it's just the timing of it, the delivery of it, it's confusing, man. And I'm kind of surprised about it by it all. I am curious to see what's next for her though, because she was a very well regarded executive during her time with MLS clubs. I thought she's done a phenomenal job in building the roster for Bay FC. For what they've done in a year, in the first year, the type of powerhouse names that they have. um, Alex Loetta's injury kills that midfield and makes a lot of things more difficult for them. But that on paper is a really freaking good team that I think will end up being very good. So um, impressive work from her on that aspect. But yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta say, just because I was kind of joking around, but I don't know that, like you said, it sounds like she's leaving on her own. So I was kind of joking around about being ousted earlier. Uh, it just with how everything went today, it seems like everybody was being, hey, goodbye.
Mhm.
Because we had Sporting, we had San Jose Earthquakes, we had San
Yeah.
Diego Wave, we had Bay City, Bay FC rather.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just been a weird day.
Very
Right.
odd day. So weird that the Florida Panthers, at the time of our recording, have won the Stanley Cup. The Florida Panthers NHL franchise, the pit of misery that it used to be, has somehow won a Stanley Cup. It gives me hope for my San Jose Sharks, to tell you that one day we'll rise from the mire and be fine.
Hey, I had to be in my 50s before I found my NHL team finally won a damn Stanley Cup. So
Well, I'm 3/5 of the way there. So
there's hope. San Jose was actually good for a few years.
they were good for like 20 years and they're garbage right now. So, anyways, back to the soccer podcast.
Any other NWSL news we should cover?
What are your thoughts on what happened with Sophia Smith and her suspension and Portland's attempted, I guess,
Peel.
appeal of a very obvious second yellow card.
Okay, first of all, I was kind of happy with the initial result because I was like, okay, they don't have to face Sophia Smith. And maybe it turned out for the best because that part got overturned because initially their fines were all doubled, the suspension was doubled, and Portland was told they could not appeal another card and for the rest of this year and next year, and they forfeited their bond. Everything that they could do to them, they did to say that was stupidly frivolous. Don't bother us again. So I'm glad they did that because teams should not be doing such frivolous ones. There should be ones of real question.
Yeah. Like, and here's the thing, like my question, we have not a ton of time on it, but like, what was the argument? Like, there's no argument that it's not a second yellow card. And there's no argument that it wasn't a time wasting tactic. And like, if their argument was like, but we got Seattle next, guys, like, come on, you can't do this to us.
Yeah.
If that was like genuinely their argument, then good on the NWSL for doing what they did. However, I do think it was a massive overstep for the league, doubling the punishment to Sophia Smith. And I'm glad that the NWSL PA stuck up for her and stepped in and did what the Players Association is supposed to do. Because look, Sophia Smith got her punishment for her red card. She deserved it. That's what happens, right?
I have to question though, was she involved in the appeal? Did they say, hey, we want to appeal this? Do you agree? If they do that, then she suffers the penalty to me.
I think here's the thing. I think like you look at like Johnny Russell last year. I'm just going off of past history, right? Johnny Russell was adamant, and the club was adamant that it wasn't a red card. The club going to appeal, doesn't happen, doesn't get overturned, and so he starts a suspension. There's a bit more of an argument there, but ultimately, I don't think like I understand players can kind of drive that at some point. But like, I mean, if she drove it, then that is also on Portland for not having, like, this is essentially on the Thorns. And to me, it's on the Thorns front office for either not having the gall to stand up to your star player and say, look, we're not appealing this. As dumb as we all think it is, and funny as the whole thing was, we're not appealing this because it's a waste of an appeal. Because what happens when you appeal and you get it wrong, you don't get the appeal for the rest of the year.
Right.
So, like, regardless, they were not going to get an appeal for the rest of the season. They're allowed one, I think one or two, maybe max, unsuccessful appeals of red card decisions in a year. So, like, if you're Portland, you're saying, gosh, we only have one appeal. Is this really, like, do we want to waste it on this? And you're the franchise that should stand up to your star player and say, sorry, we're not going to appeal that. And or they're the ones who let it. And like, essentially, to me, this falls on the Thorns for having the gall to follow through with it, whether or not they did it because Sophia Smith asked them to, or whether or not it was of their own volition. None of those reasons make sense because it never should have been sent through. It's a red card. You take your lumps, you move on.
And again, I don't know that Sophia drove it, but if she just signed off on it, if she's like, oh yeah, let's do it, if I don't know. If it was like, oh, we're going to appeal this, and she's like, oh, I don't think you should, then I agree. She shouldn't be fined for it. Either way, it came out fine. It's all right. I'm not upset by her not getting a second game suspension.
No,
I'm glad Portland got slapped hard though.
Yeah, I mean, you have to send a message. Like, we don't give star players preferential treatment. You don't.
And even if it's not a star player, even if it's just a stupid, frivolous appeal, it's wasting the league's time.
But here's my question. If it's their backup center back, are they doing that appeal on it? Probably not. The only reason they're doing that appeal is because it's Sophia Smith. So that's where my point is. Like, if you can't have a different set of rules for your star players.
No, I agree. But that almost leads me to say that she should have still got the double game suspension then if it's because she's a star player. That, I don't know. I mean, we don't know exactly what went on. I'm okay with how it turned out. I'm glad that hopefully no other teams will let's just see if we can overturn a stupid red card that somebody got for 2 yellows in 12 seconds because they did something stupid. I'm just glad they did it.
Yep.
That's one of the best NWSL decisions this year. All right.
Yeah.
We have about a minute and a half, and Current will play Houston this Friday. I'm very glad that the Current and Sporting don't go directly against each other a ton in town. But how have they ended up with so many Friday, Sunday, Saturday at noon games in their own stadium so far? I guess network TV, but still, it just seems weird.
A lot of primetime slots they're getting.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate the time. Any last words?
Nope.
We'll see you again tomorrow, probably at least twice.
Probably multiple times tomorrow. But hey, Current on Friday. We'll see you there.
Yep. We are out.